sometimes you just, good thing I, have another microphone, but this echoing app is just horrible. So, all right. So first thing today, we're going to go over the schedule for family law, the schedule for skills. Then we're going to go over family law rules, and then we're going to go show you where you can get some constructs help with understanding the rules. So let's start with, because we're actually way over time now. So let's start with the schedule going forward. So the schedule today, going in November, today we're going to go over just the skill schedule, construct rules, and we're going to go over the rules of family law. Obviously, we have class on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we really don't have any class. We have that assignment in lieu of class for evidence. And, happy Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrate the holiday. The next weekend, we're going to be doing a skills video on all the rules that we've learned up to this point in family law. Now, the reason why we're going to be doing that is because we don't want what happened last time in LFR to happen again, where we had to kind of learn everything in a very short time frame. So this is just going to be just a reflection piece on what the rules were last time, what the rules are now, how we're going forward, and how we can start absorbing these rules now. So when it's time to actually start studying it for the final, it'll be a lot easier to absorb because we've been exposed to what the rules are before that time frame. And then we'll close out the month of December into to now close the month of November to December. Now, December starts on a Saturday, but this Sunday, the 2nd, this is when we're going to be really start focusing on exam review. So before this is going to be, just our regular skills classes, but then we're going into exam review. So the next 2 weekends and the first 2 Sundays in December are going to be only focused on evidence. Now, the first weekend, I have here past midterm, but we're not going to be actually working on past midterm on that Sunday. We're going to be working on the rules, IRAC, and we're going to be taking the examples that the professor is going to be giving us for the take-home assignment this Wednesday. The professor is going to write out an answer. We're going to take that answer and examine it. We're going to look at her rule explanation. We're going to look at how she says the rules. We're going to look at how she applied the rules. We're going to look at the understanding and the reasoning she used for those particular pieces. And then we're going to see if we can regurgitate them, if we can use them to help our exam process, because I think it's going to be very simple. If the professor says, here's the rule and here's the rule explanation for, let's say, a hearsay issue, then we want to replicate that so we can have success on the final. As you can see, Wednesday, December 5th, December 6th, and December 7th, I have off, but those are days that are for study days. I'll be here from 6:15 to about 9 o'clock those days. So if you want to schedule an appointment or want to come in and see me, just let me know and I will be here those days. Even though we don't have any class, I'll still be around so you guys can talk and we can go over evidence, because I know evidence is a big class, a big topic. Next Sunday, the Sunday, December 9th, 2018, we're going to be going over the rules for evidence. Not the rules for evidence. We're going to be going over the past exam. So you should already have had that past exam for the previous week. But on December 9th, we're going to specifically look at the rules for evidence. And we're going to be looking, I'm sorry, I keep saying the rules for evidence. We're going to be looking at the past exam. We're going to be going over the past exam. We're going to be going over the model answer. We're going to be going over the multiple choice. So you'll have a nice grasp on everything. We're going to be doing that about 1 o'clock that day. You can we're going to be here in the school, so you can come into the classroom. You can look at it online. You can join, we're going to make sure that you can have every possibility to join that discussion when we look over the final exam. So we'll look at the final exam. We'll go over it, and hopefully, you guys should all have a very good understanding of how this professor not only tests, but how to be successful on this exam. Monday, obviously, is a day for you probably to rest, relax. Maybe if you can look at something, look at light things, but you should already know what you're going into. And then that Tuesday from 6:15 to 10:15, you'll have the evidence exam. After that, this Thursday, I'm going to be looking to go over the constructs past final exam. The reason why I'm going to go over it earlier is because constructs is on that Monday. So if we do it on that Sunday, it's not really going to work, because I like to give you guys some time to just relax. So we'll go over the constructs final exam. We'll go over what happened, the model answer, the same thing that we're going to be doing for evidence, we're going to do it for constructs. This gives you 2 days to look over that exam and to look over what happened and to see if you can mirror some of the successes that the people who were successful on that last exam was. Then on that Sunday, we'll go over questions again from the past exam. We'll actually go over some of the reasoning that the professor likes to use. We'll try to look at some of the rule and rule explanation pieces that the professor is looking for on the exam, but we're really not going to be doing a heavy analysis that day. And the reason why is because I don't want to go into something too heavy the day before the exam. So this is just reflections on what best tactics to do for IRAC, for rule explanation, and those type of things before the exam. Then that Monday, we'll take our constructs final. That'll be leading us right into Tuesday, December 18th. Now, Tuesday, December 18th, we're going to be hitting LFR hard. We're going to be starting with the rules that we've learned after the midterm, and we're going to be laying them out one at a time. Now, since we'll have packages and emails of the rules, we'll be looking at what the rules are, how to understand them, and we'll see if we can get a prior exam from the professor or something similar so we can go over that to see what she's looking for on that exam. Now, that exam is going to be a little shorter, but it's no less important. So after we get the rules and try to understand what's going on for LFR on that Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll go over something light, nothing too heavy. I don't even have it planned, something planned for that day, but just reflection. Here are the rules to kind of calm down any fears. And then that Thursday, we'll go into the LFR exam. And then that'll be it for our skills. So here's the schedule. I'll be putting the schedule up on the Skills Twin site so you can see the schedule and you can plan accordingly. And again, any of these days in between, this Monday, Tuesday, any of these days in between, if you want to schedule an appointment to come see me between after 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock that evening, any of these days, yes, I will be around and you could come see me and we'll schedule out those times. So going forward, this is what's going to be happening in skills for the next, how many weeks is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. These are all the skills classes. And this is just to make sure we help you get ready for the final exam. So since now we know about the skills schedule going forward, I want to start moving forward to the rules for family law. So we're going to be transitioning over to that. So what you're seeing on your screen are going to be the rules for family law for this week, the week of November 18th, I believe it is. And we're going to be going over now. There's only one class. So this class is going to be on custody and child support and how to gain child support. And so first we start with the New York State DRL custody child support, and we start with the percentages, 17% of combined parental income for one child. So we'll go over what that means. What does it mean for combined? What does it mean for combined parental income? Now, this calculation, for some reason, students have a hard time when it comes to the math. I think it's because we're all lawyers, and lawyers, you would think would be good at math, but unfortunately, sometimes we're not. So what this is you'll see it's a kind of a combination of the parent's income. Like say if one parent makes $100,000 a year and another parent makes, let's do it. Let's make it simple numbers: $90,000 versus $10,000, and then how that equates to. Then you'll take that. Let me restart because I'm confusing myself. Let's say one parent makes $90,000 a year, another parent makes $10,000 a year. What the court generally does is take those two amounts and say, okay, these parents make $100,000 a year together. Then what's 17% of that 100,000? That number is then divided based on the percentages of, the parent who's making $90,000. 90% of that would be that parent would owe 90% of that versus the parent who's making $10,000. That parent would only be owe $10,000 of that percentage. So that was it, $17,000. That the parent who's making 90% will have to pay 90% of that. The parent who's making 10% of that would only have to pay 10% of that. And that's kind of the way it goes. I actually have an example of this for you guys. This is the New York State child support calculator. Let me put this up on screen so you guys can see it. So this is a New York State child support calculator. So this doesn't really go into depth of what I was talking about earlier, but what you can do here is you can take your one parent, and if they make $100,000 a year, then you get total, and it tells you how much the estimated annual support for that child, which is 15.3, and that comes out to just 70%. And actually, they have the numbers here, and then they have some of. But it's interesting that they actually have a calculator, so you can see how much it is in child support, and you can see these type of calculators they have. Now, again, this calculator isn't really good for what we're trying to do. So let me do this. Let me get another sheet from here so you guys can see this. So let's do it this way. Let's go P1, which is parent one, and this parent one is my $90,000 a year. Let's make that cash so people can see it's cash, $90,000 a year. And this is parent two, P2, makes $10,000 a year, right? So their combined income is equaling both parents. It's $100,000 a year. Now we look at it percentages. Now the percentages are going to be 90 versus 10%, but we'll look at the percentage. So this is equal. We're just going to get a percentage of income. So parent one is 90% of the income, and parent two is just 10% of the overall income. Now, again, I'm using these whole easy numbers because it just makes it a lot simpler when you're doing it. So since we have, and let's say, I forgot to say, we have one child, C-H-I-L-D, child, and we have one child. So if we look at how much for one child, that's 17% of the income, of the total parental income. So now we got to do 17%. So let's just take this $100,000. So we're talking about 17%. 17%. So what we're going to do is take this $100,000 and multiply it times 17% to see what we're going to get. $17,000. $17,000. So that should be the expected child support for that child. Now, since parent one is making 90% of that income, parent one is going to be responsible for 90%. So this is equals the 90%. And then the parent who's only making 17%, and that is going to be how much? So the parent who's making $90,000 will be responsible for $15,300 of child support, and the parent making $10,000 would only be responsible for $1,700 worth of child support. And this is just a rough way, but just to understand, this is how you both combine the income, find out what percentages for both parents, and then you do the math, and you'll see the parent one who's making the most amount of money is going to be responsible for the highest amount of child support. And the good thing is you can always play around with these numbers. If you do 150,000, then you can see how the numbers change dramatically. Or if you do, 65,000. And usually when professors give you this, they'll give you hard numbers, things that are easy to calculate, so you can easily see it. So this is what will be left. And so that's what we're going to be learning this week in family law, how this whole child support system actually works in the real world. Let me go back. So this week in family law, this is what we're going to be learning about, how this actually all works, how this actually all is going to work out. We're also going to be understanding other things that also affect this amount, because, it could be, where the child goes to school. Here it talks about, how to, other things that may actually be included within that calculation of how much money you make and things of that nature. And, the court show and how the court actually would calculate these basic child support obligations if other things happen, because sometimes it's just not about, how much maybe the child has special needs or something like that. So all of this is going to tell you how it goes. And then we have two cases that, will let talks about duration, and also, again, are going to go into how child support is allocated and how the court makes the determinations about the amount. What we're doing with the Excel spreadsheet was just the basic amount of child support. But again, the child could have some special needs or something else or, you can hit the lottery or something that's going to change. You're not just going to say, well, even though you're making $10,000 a year and you hit the lottery for $300 million, child support is still $1,700. That's just not going to work. The court's now going to make an adjustment based on these changes in circumstances. So it's going to explain to you how all this actually works. So that's a little look for next week in family law. I hope I didn't chop it up, but this is how it's going to work and how we're going to do it. And remember, it's just going to be for the hour on Tuesday. So we'll go into this again when we do a little more in-depth view next week for family law. But this is what we're going to be looking for this week in family law. Is child custody and child support, and how much it's going to cost you if you have to pay. The last topic we're going to look at today is going to be the rules for constructs. Now, some students came to me actually for the past couple of days, and I've said this has been very, very helpful. So I feel bad that not everyone is taking advantage of it, but I want to just make sure that this is what's going on. So last year for constructs, I did two videos. I did first the constructs midterm video, which was on justiciability and more or less on standing. And there was a separate video on constructs final review. Now, I was in the midst of redoing these videos for this particular class, but so many students I've had such good reviews on these last two videos, how it just helps students understand constructs moving forward. I think it's best if you just go to these videos, and when we do our constructs review, we'll do it on the items that we learned specifically for this class. But I've gotten such good reviews from these that I think I'm just going to point everyone here, and then we'll go through it here. Now, in this first video, it goes over. We're going to go over the video constructs justiciability. So it's the first thing we're going to click on. And this video starts with me. But it's only an 8-minute video, but it really goes through the standing and what standing is, how to apply it, that type of thing, the cases. So it just gives you a nice understanding of standing. Now, remember, for the midterm for this class, we also did another video on standing. So just to let you guys see what standing was. So you can use either one of these videos. So these videos were just on standing. And it gives you just a nice little outline of how standing is, what the rules are, and some about how the cases play out. Now, for the newer rules, for the rules that we're just doing now, this second video that you're going to be seeing now is about the newer rules. So first, this video starts going over the necessary and proper clause, and I'll actually list out the rules that we're going to be talking about. So here, you'll see necessary and proper, commerce, taxing and spending, 11th Amendment, sovereign immunity, and then we actually have part 2 of this, presumption of state and local laws, dormant commerce clause, and here you can't see it, but it's privileges and immunities clause. So we're going to be going through all of these items in this video, and this video is about 37 minutes long, but you can see what we do is it's an in-depth analysis on the rules and how the rules actually apply over the topics. So for instance, we go into commerce clause, what these rules are, economic versus non-economic activity, the cases that stand for them, taxing and spending, what the court found unconstitutional, what they found constitutional. We go over the 10th Amendment, we go over sovereign immunity, we go over how the 11th Amendment allows Congress to abrogate it in certain situations, and certain situations they don't. We go over the 14th Amendment. This is the full test for the Section 5 Enforcement Clause. And again, we go over exactly what that means, how to apply it in the real world. We go over preemption. We go over implied preemption. We go over the Dormant Commerce Clause. So this, and again, this is both, this has two components to it. This both lets you know what the actual rules are. And again, I go over an in-depth analysis on how these rules work and how to apply these rules to particular situations. So it's not that long of a video, but it is a comprehensive video on constructs and the rules that we've looked at after the midterm. So if you're starting to feel a little funny about the rules and not really grasping what rules that we're learning, you can look at this video and see how these rules, what the rules are and how they're being applied, and hopefully to help ground you. So moving forward, we'll go. Now, you also have a document from the TA in constructs, and those are just the hard rules. You have a document that literally lists out all the rules. And now this can supplement that. We're saying, well, here are the rules and here are how the rules are applied. So, and again, this is just so we can start looking at constructs and getting a feel for how these rules are being applied and what these rules are. Now, one of the most important pieces in constructs that we're going to start having to look at also, how the rules and how to apply the rules in constructs uniquely from evidence. Because in constructs, the professor wants you to use the cases that these rules develop from to apply them to different sets of facts. So for instance, if you have, let's go back to standing, for instance, and you have a case like Lyons that stood for a particular proposition in standing, the professor may give you a separate set of facts, and then she would want you to either tell her how that case is like Lyons to support the fact of finding of standing, or tell her how it's not like Lyons to support a finding that there is no standing. So that's where we're going to be going into exactly what this professor wants in these particular situations. So I hope this was helpful today. I'm sorry about all the mic issues earlier, but sometimes it can't be helped because I actually have a pretty good mic here, but it was getting this horrible echo. So we will not be using that mic anymore. Very glad that I had a secondary mic. And for all you students out there, remember, we have the new schedule out for skills. If you want the appointments from 6:15 at any of the nights, definitely let me know. Now you know what we'll be going over for the next couple of weeks. So mark your calendars. And if you have any questions or any issues going forward, please let me know. I know this is a lot. I know it's a lot in evidence, but we can all get through it together. So I'll be seeing you guys next week in skills. Take care. And if I don't see any of you before Thanksgiving, have a happy holiday.